Hello everyone, welcome back to Horace Goes Podcasting for gamers with Pong memories. We've been away for a little while, but we're back again. Today it is just John and I who are going to have a chat and review our last few episodes and talk about more as well.
Hello.
Hi John.
Hi, it's great to be here, Kieron, and good to be back. Good to be back on the airwaves, isn't it?
Yes, those internet airwaves, fantastic. And thanks for people tuning in again, if that's what people do with podcasts these days. So yeah, we had 4 guests on the show, which was fun. I think they were all great interviews, but I'm biased. Covered a lot of ground, and we thought we'd just talk through them again. So if you had to pick a favourite one, John, which would be your favourite? If you
Kieron,
want to go there.
that's dirty pool, isn't it? Right there. It's just how do you ingratiate yourself to one person and then make 3 other people your lifelong enemies forever? So I liked, you said, diplomatically, all of them, he said. I think they all had something a little bit different, you know. We had with a game developer, and I think that was amazing to kind of reveal, you know, what's behind the curtain in game development and some of the pressures they're under and some of the joys they experience, but also had a teacher of games as well, who was into indie games. And I really liked that as well. And of course, to know that one of the people that we spoke to was what contributed to Masters of Orion, which I remember playing avidly, and I loved playing that game. And I thought as well that some of the humour in there was very dark. They crept in. I have to wonder, you know, did our interviewee was he part of that? There was one very quickly. There was one enemy that you could pick. Where it was kind of boss level, and rather than the description of, oh yes, these people are very intelligent, very warlike, it was simply, you have my sympathy, and that was all it said. And then they probably trashed it.
Be ready to die.
That's right, be ready.
Yes.
Yeah, buckle up. I think they're one of my
He's going to be playing this boss 27 times.
Yes, it was just all the rest of the enemies were kind of humanoid, just kind of like some kind of glowing energy in a Darth Vader mask, and you think, yeah, this is going to be a problem. But I think my favourite, has to be Dean. Dean from UCL. I'm biased because I've known Dean.
Slight bias for you, yeah.
Totally biased, but totally reasonable, I'd say as well. Dean, totally reasonable, Kieron. Mainly because Dean, he's done so much in gaming for Tech for Good, I think. You know, he's helped an awful lot of kids who didn't have the opportunity to start gaming. And I just think that's just brilliant. And we've got another huge batch of games coming out, which I'm not going to go on endlessly about, but they are awesome. And that's my vibe. That's totally my vibe as well. So I think nosing it would be Professor Dean Mohammed Ali, not just because I'm biased, although of course I am biased, because of all the great Tech for Good stuff that we do here as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a lovely take on gaming, and that there are lots of people who want access to it that don't have, you know, have got barriers.
True.
And they're, Dean and his group, including yourself, are trying to break that down, which is fantastic.
I was going to ask you, Kieron, what was your favourite?
Yeah, I was going to say, again, I mean, they're 4 standalone great conversations, different aspects of gaming, and talking about different games as well. For me, Terry's conversation about designing games and trying to get the message across to his students about the different aspects, that it's not just straightforward and taking a concept from real life and applying it in a game. It is not just like for like. So the idea of the door and thinking about what can go through your door and how do people know to push a door or pull a door, or is there a button that operates the door, Do they wave their hand and the door opens? And all these things, and communicating to a player what the next step is, or so that they're not just lost and blundering around, and that people are moving forwards. And that, for those of us that work in the software industry, also talks a lot about user design in general. So that was interesting. Nick talking about his experiences in retirement and how he was balancing gaming alongside lots of personal projects was really inspiring, about just thinking about retirement coming up. And Eric's passion about his project that he has in mind, and about how to slow games down and even things up for those of us a little bit later in life who don't have the teenage Twitch response anymore. And that was not a phrase I'd heard before, Twitch response. I've learned that one now. I definitely don't have it, never did, never gonna. And yes, Dean was definitely the sweetest, shall we say, if we're allowed to use that descriptor. But they've all been fun, and we want to do more, of course, which we'll come to later in today's episode. One thing that I liked as well that is different across all four of them, and if you throw in our interviews of each other as well across all six of us, is we've all got different tastes in games. And it's not like we picked these six people deliberately to have different gamers, but it's just worked out that we are all different gamers. We all like different genre. So it was great to be able to talk about beat 'em ups with Dean, or those sort of horror type RPGs with Nick, and everybody else's experience in games, and just showing how everybody charts their own path playing games, which is great to see.
I think you're right. And I think one of the things that resonated particularly with Terry's in game design, and he kind of brought it back as if it was yesterday, even though I love the game to death, love it. Remember the original Hobbit game on the Spectrum? Have you ever played that?
Yeah.
And you start off in your little cosy Hobbit house, and then you try and open the green chest to get the key, and that must have taken me about 45 minutes to work out what is the right combination of words that I need to use to get the key out of the chest. Yes, it's like, open it. It is, you cannot open this thing. And you think, that could have done some better design, I think. So Terry's lessons, I think, definitely hit home for me for sure. But I've got to say, Hobbit's still great. No, not disrespecting the Hobbit. It's a fantastic game. Yeah, I think Terry's style was, I think, great, really down to earth, and I think as well, given his profession, he was able to explain it in ways that, well, even I could understand in terms of the game design and the importance behind it, and with relevant ideas as well.
Was there a theme from across the conversations we had that struck out for you?
Do you know? Funny you should say that, Kieron. Funny you should say that. But I do think that we've got this life cycle, haven't we, for gamers? And we kind of covered quite a bit of it with our interviewees. There was Dean, who might actually be on the younger end of the spectrum in terms of our selection, who is very much into his beat 'em ups. Still enjoying those. You're gonna love this gentleman. He bought me RoboCop recently, and so I was playing that. So definitely good first-person shooter. And then of course, I think Terry himself was very much into. Was it Fallout London? I think he was playing.
Fallout London. Yeah, that was a project he was passionate about. Yeah.
And rightly so, because it was a kind of a community-driven project. I think just fantastic, which is a kind of a different type of gaming from the beat 'em ups. And of course, you had Eric, who I think was such a wonderful example of playing with family in a really unusual genre, which was of course Grand Theft Auto, which you wouldn't immediately think of really for
online.
Yeah, for a family get together in a car
to be wound up by your son. Yes.
That's right. Yes. to be evaporated.
Shouldn't really be surprised that your own kid would try and steal money off you or blow you up, wherever it was that he did. He certainly wasn't being nice to his dad.
No, I guess it's quite cathartic in a way. It's probably something that all children want to do to their parents to some degree, and that I think is a great outlet for it. So maybe they're going to, it's be very healthy. Maybe we should recommend it for everybody. And of course, I think that's another element as well, especially the online gameplay of Grand Theft Auto, which is something a bit different from certainly Dean's and Eric and Terry's choices. And then of course you had of course the profession of working for Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed, which I imagine Eric would have played in as well. So yeah, I think the life cycle of gamers is an interesting one. You kind of start off that kind of that left of the trajectory of gaming, and you get into beat 'em ups and then possibly first person shooters, and I kind of wonder if there's a progression then once you become tired of the spray and pray type game, of you moving more into the kind of the Counter-Strike type variant.
Well, that's certainly your case, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not good at it. I just like to think that no.
But that's also the point, and one of the themes that came out that I liked was, and Dean was the biggest proponent in this because that's the area he's working on in increasing the accessibility of games. But they all talked about it in one way or another. Eric talking about that slowing the game down, thinking about a different way to have a fight that isn't just about who draws quickest, aims quickest and shoots quickest, but adding new aspects. Terry and Eric were both talking about things like easy modes, and so did Nick, to allow people to get further into the game rather than getting blocked by the boss that says, ha ha ha, you're going to enjoy this, you're going to die soon, whatever. And I think Terry also talked about adding cheat modes and that kind of thing, and so did Eric. Eric was thinking about having a little AI sidekick or champion or something like that would help you, pop in and give you suggestions. It may depend on the kind of game. Obviously in an RPG that's more doable, but there's lots and lots of ways that some kind of system could be there to give you advice about how to proceed.
Yeah.
And also part of that accessibility and inclusion is the size of the games, and this is a topic that is appearing in the press and the coverage as well, about huge games that people are paying £60-70 to play, but play a small percentage of it when rather than 100 hours of gaming, they might be quite happy with 30 hours of gaming for a smaller cost, and then move on to another game because they don't feel indebted to the game to finish it off, or bash their head against the wall. So that, all kinds of different features around accessibility. Dean dealing with the more physical side of it, but the other guys talking about dropping in that immediate enjoyment and being able to continue and want to go back to a game if you want to, or not feel worn out by it.
I think that's a really good point. I'm feeling that way at the moment, actually. I don't know if you've ever come across a game called Skyrim. Came out many years ago.
Yes.
And it came out...
Never played it, but...
Well, I started playing it before I had children, so of course I had oceans of time to play games.
Yeah.
And then I picked up... They remastered the prequel, which was Oblivion. So it's kind of got fancy graphics. Just started playing that.
Right.
And of course I'm now 100 hours in, and I think I've scratched the surface, and I've become so frustrated that I looked online for glitches, and I've now given myself, and I can give you some context. I've got health of 200, I've got stamina of 200, and I've got magic of 55,000. So I've glitched it so I can...
Sounds like a big number.
It is a big number. It kind of means like I am ultimate Darth Vader in the game, because I wanted to progress and see more of it, but equally now I've tipped that balance too far, and now there's no gameplay left because I was getting so frustrated with only scratching the surface. And I feel I've kind of ruined it for myself because I don't want to go back to having 200 magic.
You don't want to begin again.
No.
Yeah.
So I think there's a fair point there, I think, Kieron, for sure.
Yeah, it's a tricky balance. So you're been replaying Skyrim. I have gone back to Football Manager, a newer version of Football Manager than I've been playing in the past. Football Manager 24, and that does have a little subtitle on the save game screen where it goes. I mean, I don't know what all the levels were, but there's a little sentence that goes, "Oh no, you've just dipped your toe all the way," because it counts the number of hours that you've been playing the game.
Right.
And eventually it's like you're fully addicted now, or something like that. It's a sentence. But it's a game that involves a lot of time to even play through a season, and the idea is that you're buying and selling players and training players as well as playing all the games. So the whole life cycle of that game has various levels of not just the football game when you tee up your team and give them their tactics, but also season on season as a team progress and you progress in your career as well. So it does require hours and hours and hours and hours of gameplay.
Yeah, I think that's the challenge, I think, isn't it? Because when you get a bit older, you want less of the shallow action-packed type game that you can drop in, shoot 5 people and leave, and you want to have that kind of narrative and that immersive story and that meaning, but that comes with time, and it's hard to get that without investing time. It's like having a really engrossing book. It's hard to have an engrossing book in 25 pages, if that means you see what I mean. And I wonder if it's the same challenge that we've kind of got for gaming as well. And I don't know. I'm not sure what the answer is for that. It's a really interesting question. Maybe the answer is to cheat, like me. Get yourself an immersive game and just glitch it, and then become all-powerful Darth Vader or Sauron and crush everyone you meet. In my darker moments, I go back to
my daughter playing in a different way. My daughter playing Sims 4. She, in that, for her, what she enjoyed doing was building the houses and stuff and doing all of the decorating and the furniture, and she'd buy lots. Well, we've got a degree of the expansions, but also she'd go on the content creators hubs and download all kinds of things, because what she enjoyed doing was building a house and putting all the bits in and decorating and that design side of it. So the side of the game that involves you starting with no money and getting a job, she's like, no, I don't do that. So she would just enter the cheat codes to have infinite amount of money. She was taking that game and approaching it in a totally different way. Whenever I've played Sims, it has been about having the career and growing the family, building a bigger house after you've got those resources and those sort of story side of it. But for her, a different way of playing it.
I guess it's quite nice, because you want to make the best life you can for your Sims, and you think, well, let's make them a fantastic castle with 19 swimming pools and jacuzzis and whatnot. Yeah, I could.
Yes,
I get into that for sure. I think it's a good way forward. I think.
Have you, as a result, because my answer to this question is yes, so I'll do my answer and then you can do yours. But from the interviews, and maybe from you and I talking, or any of our guests, gone out and bought a game as a result? Because I have to admit that I have done, although I haven't played it yet. So Eric was very, very keen about Red Dead Redemption 2, and how he really enjoyed that story and hadn't been expecting to like that genre of story-led game, but had got really into it and found it profound in many ways. So I saw it was on sale on Steam. I don't know if it still is. So I have invested in it. At some point in time, I'll start playing it and see what he was raving about.
Oh, very good. I will absolutely tell you mine. But when you do start playing, there are some wonderful Easter eggs in the game to search out. There's a UFO alien abduction where you go into a shack and a blue UFO hovers and a cow gets beamed into the spaceship before it disappears. There's also a ghost train that appears on one railway bridge, which is really good to see. And they've really thought about some really nice little touches in there. For me, I didn't go out and buy a game necessarily, but I did go and revisit one. So I revisited Grand Theft Auto again. I was a bit put out by Grand Theft Auto originally because when I was playing it on my original PlayStation, I'd invested in a prepper's underground bunker, and I'd invested in helicopters and nuclear weapons and submarines. And then I bought it for my Xbox. I couldn't figure out how to transfer those things, and so I started again. So I kind of went, no, and I left it. But I played it again, and I'm enjoying it. Yeah, I'm totally enjoying it, and I guess one of the things that I like as well, maybe an older gamer would start to do this. You do research online about tactics, which you probably wouldn't do as a youngster. Which I kind of like that part as well.
I've thought about this in picking up new games. I think it's probably the opposite.
Oh, okay.
Because young people, who sound like a punishable
youth today.
But the millennials, the Gen Zs, their approach to research is go on Google, see some people talking about it, or Twitch or wherever. Twitch probably isn't very good for it, but I think that's their go-to, is to go and see a content creator and what they're doing. So I actually think it'd be the other way around, that they would just do that research because that's how they do a lot of other things.
It could well be, because I find that a lot of the people putting content on there are fairly young people, so it's probably serving the same audience. There is a wonderful YouTube series called Battle Loggers, which I definitely recommend, and that's created by gamers who are not old. I would say probably mature, probably like fine wines, mature like fine wines, and they tend to they've been taking, I guess, tactics from battlefields that you might use to overcome an enemy, for example, using thought rather than just pure violence, and turning it into pranks. So it's going to be quite fun to learn. So there's that is, to be fair, they're hilarious to watch. I really recommend it. Battle Loggers, if you watch it and you play Battlefield, it's a must have. But for example, one is something called Surprise Party, where you may have 4 people in your team. One person goes out into a kind of vulnerable area and entices someone to a knife and shoot them, and then you run into a room where all your friends are waiting and say, "Surprise! Hello!" Which never gets
bang, bang.
Exactly, it never gets old. Yeah, so
no. Well, the number of times that appears in a film. Well, the screenwriters like it too.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, that's a fair point. Actually, it's a good point. I was playing Call of Duty online with some friends this weekend, and there's some bunkers you open for extra loot, and you can, I think, work out what the codes are by looking at calendars and looking at the position of the moon and all that kind of stuff. But you can look online and find out what the codes are, which we did. And of course, that's put on there on Reddit by probably younger folks. So I think you've got a fair point, Kieron. More than likely.
So that's us looking backwards a little bit, but we want to also talk a little bit going forwards as well about the future of this podcast. We have enjoyed those interviews and discussions with our guests, but we want to reposition a little bit, not to say, of course, that the guests will be outside the scope of where we want to go, but we want to think a little bit broader, more inclusive, and not just sort of head towards a segment of gamers towards the end of their employed life or who are heading into retirement, but a wider spectrum of gamers, don't we?
I think that's a really good idea. I do like that. I think one thing our guests have shown us is that there's a lot of different areas that we can explore, I think, and from different perspectives. I love the idea of accessible gaming, and there's a huge amount there. And of course, you don't need to necessarily require accessible gaming in order to enjoy playing it or get benefit from it. I know one of the games that Dean created was, I don't know if you remember it, in the 1980s, there was a game where you shot cannonballs at your opponent's castle to knock holes in the walls, and then an army would come in.
Lots of them,
so it recreated that, but it used visual recognition, so it would be the player would carry a cannonball, not a real one, but an imaginary one, and then go through a session of throwing it. And based on that movement would knock it, and that's a tremendously fun game. And although it was made to get people up and moving and do that kind of very important hip hinge action, it's still tremendous fun. It's great. So I really enjoy playing it and reliving my youth. So I think that you're right. I think there's a lot to explore there, I think, in that kind of gaming life cycle.
Yeah, so thinking about, as well as those, what's my first gaming memory, but questions or topics around how do I balance gaming with career and family? How's it worked out as a lifelong hobby? How has that changed? What effect were games having in certain points of my life when I was a teenager or when I'm in my 30s or whatever it might be? And looking about how gaming evolves for guests through their life, and that lived experience with games. So not just about enjoying games themselves, but how they've balanced that up, what they've got from it, and what they've learned from it as well. And we've had those conversations with Terry and Eric and Nick and Dean. So it'll be great to carry it on with others as well.
Yeah, I think too we could look at the future of gaming, where it's heading, what are the new innovations coming down the pipe, and what does that mean for people of our age who want to have that jump in, jump out experience, because there'll be time short, but want to have that immersive experience, that it's not to be a fulfilling one. There's new technology coming down the pipe that may well make that a reality. I think that's
even more immersive.
Even more immersive. So I think that's definitely a great way forward, Kieron. Absolutely.
All of those topics would be fun and exciting to explore with guests. So, we want guests.
You do?
We don't want to just talk to each other. Not because we don't like each other or anything, but just for your listening pleasure and variety, and to hear different voices. So once again, regardless of how old you may be, we don't want to pin ourselves down to a small segment. We'd love to have some more guests on the show. I've got some ideas for casting the net out as well, but we'd love to have listeners on, friends of listeners, family members of listeners,
pets,
people you want to recommend.
Pets of listeners, we're not obviously. We will. No,
We'd just love to hear your voices.
And also as well, it'd be great, if you've got suggestions, in the comments for games, things you've seen that you'd like us to have a chat about or our thoughts on, and to chat with you, put them in there. I think I'd be really interested in hearing your thoughts on gaming.
Yeah, we'd love to see your comments and read your thoughts. So we'll wrap up for today, but a reminder that we are on Facebook and we are also on Instagram. And this time, along with this episode, I will post a mugshot of John and I. You can see us in our full glory.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
But yeah, it's great chatting again, John.
Good to see you, Kieron.
Nice to get another episode together.
Yeah.
And see you too.
Let's see what the future brings and see what our wonderful listeners suggest and what our new guests can bring us.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Bye.
Take care, everyone. Bye.